Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on success. And now, Renegade, we bring Bob Graham and Tom Rush.
Tuesday, Tom. Whoa, that was hard to say. I felt that coming out and I was worried. Taped Tuesday, Tom. Isn't this terrific?
Oh, heavens. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us for today's edition of Today's Antidote, where we try to provide that one thing, not Bob's cute alliterations, although sometimes that's beneficial, but really to provide a little bit of information around a topic that we have discussed that will hopefully help you throughout your day or sometime in the future. And we've been talking about stumbling blocks this week. Yesterday, we talked about the stumbling block of money. Today, we're going to talk about the stumbling block of messaging, which is another one of the challenges that many people face as they try to figure out, how am I going to put myself, my business, my company, my organization out to the world? And that becomes challenging for many people as they try to figure out what's right. So, but before we dive into that, Bob, do you want to remind people about our Summer of Celebration?
Yeah, this is going to be super short today. Watch this, Tom. So we have a summer celebration. Every day you can join us as we celebrate big things, small things in our lives, in our business, just the things that make us feel like, wow, I'm making progress. Just go to our Facebook group, the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. You'll see Tom's beautiful graphic, and you can put what you're celebrating for the day right down there below in the comments, and we will celebrate you for celebrating with us. And we're going to do it right up to Labor Day, maybe even longer.
Maybe.
Oh,
we hope that you will be a part of that. Obviously, there have been a lot of stumbling blocks for people over the last year and a half. And we think that this is a great opportunity for you to celebrate all of the successes and the things that are around you that help make your day and your work even better. So, Bob, let's dive into messaging and the stumbling block of it. Do you want to share some quick thoughts on that?
Sure, quick thoughts.
Or thoughts, long thoughts.
Well, thank you. Messaging is probably the most difficult part of a business or an organization. Getting the right message that resonates with the people you're trying to appeal to is not something that you can just like that. I had a situation where I was doing some sales work for a client a couple weeks ago, and it was going okay. I did it again this week, and I was much better. And I could hear the confidence in my voice as I was saying things, because it was going from theoretical, this is what we're talking about, to I believe in these things, I see how they work. And I think that's where messaging really comes into place. It's got to resonate with the audience. And sometimes we aren't the audience. We might have been the audience at one time, or we may be the audience in the future, but we're not always the audience right there in that moment. And I think that's one of the tension points in coming up with the message. The other thing I'll say about messaging is most of us assume that people understand our value. And I can tell you right now, I've had situations where someone's like, you do that? Like, you've been at 80 networking events where I talked about what I do. And they're like, I never heard that, but I have a friend who's looking for that today. We hear what we want to hear when we want or need to hear it. And so that's why with messaging, you can't just say it one time and then be done, because that might not be the day that it matters. If my hair looks really bad today, which it does, and I need a haircut, if Tom says to me, hey, I'm going to get a haircut today, where are you going, Tom? Who's your barber? If it's a day where I don't care about my hair, it's like, okay, Tom, I guess I'll talk to you later. that's part of the challenge of messaging. And I think that's one of the things that when I talk to people about messaging, they don't understand that it's about being at the right place at the right time with the right message. And there's no guarantee. Geico has spent how many billions of dollars to get us all to believe that you can get auto or homeowners insurance in 15 minutes, which, by the way, is impossible. It will not happen.
I don't know. Their online app's pretty easy to use. Just saying.
Do you get the insurance? Do you have the card in your hand in 15 minutes, really?
I think so. I can't remember. I mean, that's my insurance, and it was very simple to do.
Okay. All right.
Well,
maybe
once
they've
I found
improved
the
it.
EIN, or not the EIN, the VIN number for the cars, that was the hardest part.
Okay. And so, but how much do they spend still? I mean, they've been at this for 20 years, probably 25 years, and they're still advertising every single day because they know new people every day are looking for an insurance solution.
Sure.
Their company cut them because they had a crash. They have a new driver. They moved to a new area. And so Geico continually messages over and over and over the same thing.
Well, there are also people who don't believe that whatever they're saying is true. And
Right.
so I think that's like you. So I think that's the challenge we're overcoming.
But I remember what their slogan is.
Sure. Well,
which is success, because I probably compare everyone else to them. So if I go to one of their competitors and it takes 3 hours, come on, really?
Yeah. Well,
and that's where, but they've spent literally billions of dollars marketing that message.
No doubt.
I don't have the ability, you don't have the ability to spend billions of dollars on marketing our message. What we can do, though, is be consistent and share it frequently.
No doubt. And I think the hardest part, I think, sometimes is knowing whether or not it resonates and who it resonates with. Because even if you share it a million times, doesn't necessarily mean that people are hearing it. If you share a message that isn't resonating, doesn't matter how many times you share it, it's not going to get the effect you want. You know, I think there are many slogans that I remember and have never purchased their products. Either I didn't buy into the slogan, I thought the slogan was not speaking to me, which is possible, or that it was just, once I checked it out, it wasn't what I thought it was going to be. And so I think that becomes part of the challenge, is that we think that we have a message for everyone. This reminds me of going to networking events where insurance people are one of them, lawyers or others. I can work with anybody. Well, you can, but that doesn't mean anybody wants to work with you, especially if they don't know what you do and how you do it.
Right.
And I think the challenge is that in reality, we need to message to one person. And that's not possible. You can't go out and message to every single person differently based on the way that they would want to hear it. It just wouldn't be cost effective, affordable, or probably even possible.
No.
And I think we get caught up in what is the message. Like, do we need to have a cool slogan? Okay. Yeah, maybe. Maybe there are people who are attracted to that, and maybe there aren't. And I think that until we go out and share it, we don't understand. And I think we just see it as many times seen as a success or a failure, rather than what have I gained or learned? And then move forward with it. You know, how many times do companies change their whole? Remember when New Coke came out? Coke obviously spent a ton of money thinking that this was going to be the answer, and it was a huge flop.
You're showing your age, Tom.
Yeah, I know. That's okay. Some people won't even remember what New Coke was, or that there was a brand like that, because it didn't last. And I think what I would imagine New Coke learned is they spent a lot of money to understand that people are really like the product that they have, and that they don't necessarily have to change it. And I think that's an interesting, that might have been worth what they put into it. Because there are organizations who didn't change the way they did business and are out of business.
Radio Shack, Woolworths,
Blockbuster
Blockbuster,
Video, all of those.
Kodak camera.
Yeah, they thought they had the model correct and didn't test it against some other things. And so at least Coke was willing to say, we're going to put some money to figure out, is our brand the way we have it, the way people want it? Or if we put this new thing out, and I'm sure there were some people who loved it, thought it was great, didn't seem to be enough to help them maintain that messaging. So they went back to what they had and what was working. And I think that's part of it is, and it goes back a little bit to what's the real reason behind not putting your message out there?
Right.
Is it because you're unsure, or is it because you're afraid of how people are going to respond to it?
Or afraid that you can't deliver on the promise.
Sure.
Because that comes into play sometimes. Like, well, what if people actually expect me to do that? Like, wait, what? But I've heard that.
Sure. Well, I think there's always uncertainty that you can deliver, because sometimes there are issues that you can't solve. There are mechanics who come in and say that they can, oh yeah, we can fix your plumbing. Or not mechanics, plumbers who say we can fix your plumbing, and they come in, they're like,
I was going to say, that's your problem, Tom. If you're having mechanics fix your plumbing, yeah, I'm sure they're telling you they can fix it, but I don't know that they're the right solution.
I need to work on that. And
there's your one thing for today, Tom. When you have a plumbing issue, call a plumber.
Okay, thanks. I'll make sure that I'm following their messaging. I guess when they said they could fix anything, I assumed that they could fix plumbing as well. And I think that, that's the biggest piece of it is, the worry of, can we deliver? Like, that's part of it. Can we deliver? Is it resonating? And what will happen when I put it out there? And I think sometimes it's not about having the right messaging. It's about the fear of what the results are going to be and how they are going to change. Bless you, by the way.
Sorry, allergies are getting me today.
That happens. It happens. And I think that, I think about the times that we tried, different roles that I've been in where we tried to change the messaging and that we thought people would be interested in. And I think that's the challenge, is that we have our own perceptions, our own beliefs of what is real and what will attract others. And yet that's not always the case. Or we're not speaking to the right audience that in the right way. It's the right message, but we found the wrong audience or the wrong way to deliver it to them. I clearly remember sitting down and trying to figure out what radio station, based on their listening preferences, we would put advertisements on, and I think that while there is some method to that madness, you're also like, how guaranteed are the demographics that they have? Now, I'm sure they're pretty good. Doesn't necessarily mean that what you're putting in front of that demographic is what they truly want. It might have been just what you thought they wanted.
And I think those are all complications of messaging. But what I've found more and more is when my messaging is right, it's usually when I'm brutally honest with myself and other people. It's in the most common terms. It's not in lofty words. It's not thesaurus driven. It's just straight from the heart. And I think that's one of the things that it's taken me a long time. And I've taught marketing. I've taught branding. I've done a lot of work in that area. There's something about when someone says, hey, I get what your problem is. I've been there too, and I want to help you. And here's what that might look like. And this is the help I wish I had had. We say that in some of our stuff. What we've built together is really what we wish we had. And that what we created for ourselves kind of serendipitously, not intentionally, but it just sort of fell into place like, wow, this is really valuable to us. How do we bring other people into it? And if you've followed us for the last year, we've modified that messaging many, many, many times.
Well, because at some point, what's real for us is great, and there are others out there who would benefit from it. Doesn't mean that it's real for others.
Right.
because everyone is going to approach it a little bit differently with what is the piece that, I think that goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that if you could do it, you'd be like, okay, I need to know everything I can about Bob so that I can message directly to Bob. And then when I go talk to Susie, I need to know everything I need to know about Susie and what her needs are so that I can then message directly to Susie. And I think that, it's just unrealistic that you're able to do that. And so,
at least not initially. I mean, I think for a lot of us, we get to that place with that discussion moves from marketing to, what would you call it, enrollment, or finding if it's a fit.
Yeah, well,
that
I think
to me is where you have that one-on-one.
Yeah, you get to know people more.
Right.
The more you get to know them, which again, if you knew more about them ahead of time, really about them, not just sort of like in the broad pool of people who are ages 25 to 35 and live in this part of the country, that this is what they are interested in. So yeah, I mean, is that helpful? Sure. It allows you to start targeting. Right. And ultimately you have to figure out how you can be more specific. And I think so often we want to reach the world. Right. When in reality, we might be better off if we just found our little piece of it and focused directly on those people who are interested in, more likely to be interested in or need whatever it is that we're offering. And understanding our customer, truly understanding them. Like I was just thinking, I buy most of my polo shirts from Eddie Bauer. And Eddie Bauer has a big and tall section. I'm really tall and really thin. So they have a large, tall shirt that fits me really well. Most of the other places I go, an extra large shirt is too wide for me and too short. Or most of the other places I go, as you get wider, they think you get taller. Mm-hmm. I only went one direction. So they really understand me. And so I invest in them because I know that their shirts are going to fit in a way that I wish every other company would do it that way. I'd love to have a suite of shirt collections of all the different companies, and it doesn't happen. If Eddie Bauer doesn't change up their shirt selections, I'm wearing the same shirt for the next 5 years. Are you pushing them for a sponsorship of your? No, I'm just saying you have to know your customer, and then you market to your customer. Once they saw I bought a large, tall shirt, I started to get materials from them that highlighted things that were for tall people that weren't large. Right, because you've shown that that you had an interest, not more than an interest, that you actually purchased. So that so their marketing to me resonates. Sure. When they tell me they have a new style shirt, I know I can wear that shirt. I don't have to go, oh, I wonder if it's going to be too large for me. I can buy it online. So that their marketing is reinforcing what they know about me, but also what they know about a certain segment of the population, which is we're really tall and we're not wide. Right. Which is something that, I could list a whole bunch of other companies that I've tried shirts on for that don't get that. Mm-hmm. That is a nuance that they've never understood. When you talk about, not being so big in who we attract, but going after that small segment that we can serve. Eddie Bauer does that with me. How many really tall, thin guys do you think they're serving shirts up to? Probably a lot. 1,000, I don't know, 5,000, but not as many as if you just made a regular large shirt and put it on the shelf. I mean, I've seen. And I think that's part of so the messaging has to go in with the product or the service. They have to be hand in glove, and you have to deliver something that a person actually wants or needs. I wanted polo shirts. I needed them to fit. Ergo, Eddie Bauer solved a problem. Look at that. Oh, I brought some Latin in. See if we're going to tape these. I'm going to bring in some big words. So, Tom, as we get near the end, what's your didn't you just say that big words and thesauruses isn't what drives when you go from the heart? I did say that. I think that was yesterday's program, which feels like just a few moments ago. I can't remember which. They're all running together. So, Tom, as we get near this episode, thankful for all the people that want to move on with their day. And as people are writing their one thing in,
the comments and saying, this is the one thing that this is making me realize today. What's your one thing that you realized? Your today's antidote. Dun, 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 dun.
I think when, the stumbling block around messaging is feeling like, I believe, is that people feel like they have to be all things to all people. And that the bigger and broader and wider and more inclusive that they make their message, the more people will be attracted to them. And while there is some truth to that, I believe, I think that especially for the entrepreneur and the small business owner, even for people running a team, the more you know about your team, the more you know very tightly about who it is that you're serving and why you're serving them. I think the opportunity to grow is going to happen quicker, and you will have the possibility to see what are the other things that are going to come about as you share that message, and who are the other people who have the same challenges. The example I'll give is that, I started out working with nonprofits, and a lot of their challenges were the same as the small business owner. They were limited in resources. And so they were dealing with people who were doing multiple jobs. They were overwhelmed. They didn't have enough to pay for all the services that they wanted. And so what I found when I was focused on nonprofits is, wow, a lot of the same messages that resonate with them also resonate with small business owners and entrepreneurs who are trying to figure it out. And so I think that when you really understand one niche, it allows you to then go find other niches who share similar challenges. And so if you're thinking that you've got to be all things to all people, maybe that's the second or third step. The first step is, how do you really laser in on who your main target audience is, find out where their challenges are, and then who else shares those challenges.
Sounds great, Tom. I'm going to tell you that my one thing is very similar, and that is you've got to connect with your audience. One way or another, you've got to deliver something they need or want. Preferably need. Want's okay. And until you figure that out, the messaging won't matter.
Yeah,
and
right.
You can have the best message in the world, but if Eddie Bauer sent me ads for big shirts, I'd have bought 5, sent them back, and never bought from them again.
Sure.
So, all right. Well, this has been great. I love this topic.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you have one thing you'd like to share around the stumbling block that you may have had around messaging, please feel free to put it in the comments, because we know others will benefit from it. Or you can share it inside the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. And if you're not yet a member, it's easy to join. Just go to Facebook, search for Ring of Renegades. You do have to ask, because it is a private group. And you just have to tell us why you're a renegade. And then you can become a part of our growing community of leaders, entrepreneurs, business owners who are trying to find their next step on their own unique pathway to success. So here's some further information about that group. We hope that we will see you inside there, or we'll see you tomorrow morning, 8 a.m. Eastern time, for our next edition of today's Antidote. Have a great day, everyone. We'll see you soon.
Carving your own path is tough. You want and need a community to offer you insights and advice, share inspiration, provide support, and save you time and money. But where do you find all that? Here's the easy answer: the Ring of Renegades Facebook group, where leaders, entrepreneurs, and business owners identify their next steps. Here's some of what you will find at the Ring of Renegades Facebook group. Just go to ringofrenegades.com and join today. Find and